Imagine a book that functioned like a physical version of the internet. A century ago, Americans used these pages to order anything from a sewing needle to a fully manufactured house, delivered directly to their doorstep. This was the Sears catalog. At its height, the company served as the primary supply chain for the American household, reaching nearly every town in the country. That dominance took physical form in the Chicago skyline. At 110 stories, the Sears Tower was built to be the tallest building in the world, a monument to a company that anchored the center of every major city. The common explanation for why this empire vanished is that they simply grew too old. The narrative suggests they failed to adapt to digital commerce and were naturally outcompeted by Amazon. But the company's internal records suggest a different cause of death. The technological shift provided a convenient cover for a series of deliberate financial maneuvers, executed from within the boardroom. As the retailer began to struggle, a billionaire hedge fund manager purchased the company. He presented himself as a turnaround specialist who would return the brand to its former status. His background was in financial engineering, not retail. He showed little interest in inventory management or the customer experience on the sales floor. He had identified a specific asset that the market was ignoring. He wasn't buying a department store. He was buying the billions of dollars of prime real estate located beneath the stores. The manager began by forming a second, independent real estate company he also controlled. He moved the physical land beneath the Sears stores into this new entity. Now, the stores were required to pay monthly rent to stay on the land they occupied for decades. This created a permanent overhead cost. Any revenue the stores generated from selling goods was immediately diverted to cover these rent payments to the manager's other company. This structure meant the retail stores would lose money regardless of their sales volume, while the real estate company accumulated cash from the rent. Without cash for maintenance, the stores began to show physical signs of neglect. Roofs leaked, floors remained unrepaired, and inventory levels dropped. When staff requested funds for basic upkeep to keep the business viable, the manager declined to invest back into the operations. Instead of funding repairs, he directed the retail company to take on massive bank loans to maintain liquidity. The borrowed billions were not used to fix the stores. Instead, the money was paid out to Wall Street shareholders as cash dividends. This is known as debt loading, the practice of forcing a company to borrow money it cannot afford to repay in order to pay out investors. It functions like maxing out a credit card in someone else's name, taking the cash and leaving the account holder to deal with the debt. As the debt became unmanageable, the manager turned to the last remaining sources of value, the trusted appliance and tool brands Sears had built over a century. He detached these brands from the Sears name and sold them to external buyers. The proceeds from these sales were not used to stabilize the department stores. The money was used to pay back the company's creditors. The records show that the primary creditor being repaid was the hedge fund manager himself. He had loaned money to the company he controlled, then used the asset sales to pay himself back. By the time the brand sales were complete, Sears was a hollow entity. It owned no land, no major brands, and carried no cash reserves. Bankruptcy was the final result. The company entered total liquidation, ending its run as a major American retailer. This left behind thousands of empty buildings across the country, turning active retail centers into boarded-up shells. For the employees, the closure meant the loss of jobs and the disappearance of the pension funds they had relied on for their future security. While the public saw this as the death of a legacy brand, the financial structure of the deal ensured that one person did not share in the loss. The bankruptcy of Sears was the conclusion of a strategy where profit was decoupled from the success of the store. The manager had built a system where the death of the company was his most profitable outcome. He retained the real estate, the proceeds from the brand sales, and the interest on the debt. He effectively extracted the value of the insurance while the asset itself was destroyed. In this model of finance, an established company is viewed as a sponge. The objective is to wring out every available dollar through rent, debt, and asset sales until it is dry. The story of Sears suggests that the most significant risk to an institution isn't always a new competitor or a changing market. It can be a legal financial strategy that treats a company's liquidation as a success,